Today, what we're going to be talking about is a very popular topic, which is all the ways of doing outreach. If you have an SMMA, an agency, any sort of digital service product business, I'm going to walk you guys through all 7 ways of acquiring clients because every single one of them comes with their pros and cons. I'm going to show you which ones worked for me, which ones I haven't seen work. I'm going to outline all ways of acquiring customers in the current marketplace, and I'll run you guys through exactly which one of them you guys should do based on your type of business. So without further ado, let's hop into it. So the first one is outbound prospecting. This is probably the most common one that everybody starts with, which is cold calling, cold DMs, cold emailing, cold anything. Basically, people that don't know you exist, you reaching out to them. I'm gonna outline the 2 that have worked for me, which are cold outreach through phone calls off of Google My Businesses, as well as cold DMs on Instagram. So the thing that you guys need to realize is that a lot of people are preaching cold email marketing, which I have no idea how people get it to work, but I have tried so many different strategies. I've tried so many different agencies, and it doesn't seem to work for a B2B service-based business. It seems that maybe this is something that is more B2C focused or whatever it may be. But when it comes to the B2B space, I have found that cold calling and cold DMs is by far the best. Now, I have closed a lot more clients off of cold DMs than cold calling, but they are both viable methods at the start. And when I was doing cold calling at the time, I didn't have any case studies, but when I was doing DMs, I had a bunch of case studies. So that might have been the reason why I had a better experience with cold DMs versus cold calling. However, I know for a fact that both of these methods work because I do both of them within my business, or I have team members doing both of them, and they both work really well. Now, in order to get it to work off of Google My Business, you have to remember that these people are expecting you to call because you are a potential customer for them. Now, the drawback of you trying to sell a service over the phone is that you have to be really, really good at conveying your message in a very short period of time and create immense value and immense confusion at times in order to get someone interested or pique their interest enough just for them to have a meeting with you, sit down for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Now, when it comes down to cold calling, I'm gonna give you guys my tips on the things that work, because number 1, the most important thing to do is to answer the 3 W's when someone picks up the phone. Who you are, what you do, and why are you calling me? These are the questions someone is asking themselves as soon as you give them a call. So when you are outreaching to a specific type of business, you need to understand these 3 questions, and you need to craft them in a way in order for someone to actually be intrigued at what you are saying. And you have to do some research. I notice a lot of people cold call and then they say, hey, just before you hang up on me, I just want to let you know this is a cold call. It sounds so salesy. Nobody wants to talk to you when you do something like that. Now, obviously with volume, if you're doing 5,000 phone calls, obviously something is going to work at some level. But what we're focused on here is not doing 5,000 calls, but focusing on getting the best conversion rate possible so you guys don't get extremely demotivated and end up not closing any deals and not wanting to do cold calls ever again. The strategy that you want to follow is, my name is X, I'm calling from Y. The reason I'm calling is because X, okay? This is the structure that I found works, and you do want to do volume because at the end of the day, when you're doing cold outbound, it is more a volume game than strategy, but you do need strategy in order for the volume to be effective, okay? And most of the time, you are gonna get more no's. A lot of people go into this thinking they're gonna get more yeses than no's, when the reality is you're gonna get significantly more no's. For every 100 no's, you're gonna get maybe half a yes, okay? So like, you need to focus on doing volume when it comes to this. I see a lot of beginners do like 50 calls in a day, get 0 appointments, and then they're like, oh, this doesn't work. No, you're the one who's not working. The system obviously works because that's why people talk about it. That's why it's even a thing, okay? So when it comes down to cold calling, follow that structure that I just outlined, as well as focus on a singular niche and create curiosity for them to wanting to meet with you. So, for example, how's it going? My name is Christian. I'm calling from Gentech. The reason I'm reaching out is because med spas in Tampa have been seeing great success with our campaigns, and I thought I'd reach out and introduce myself, okay? I'm not interested. All right, sounds good. What exactly are you not interested in, right? You can handle objections right away because that's what you're likely going to face when it comes to cold calls. People think that they're gonna have a call and someone's gonna be extremely positive. They're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe you called me. Like, that's not the reality of things, okay? As compared to a normal sales call where the objections are at the end, with a cold call, the objections are up front. So it's important for you to write down the reasons people don't want to talk to you and come up with a good answer and rebuttal to that objection, and then keep upgrading that rebuttal. So for example, if you notice people are instantly saying, I'm not interested, typically my reaction to that is like, what exactly are you not interested in? I'm not interested in anything you have to offer. It's like, but you don't know what I have to offer. So like, you can dive down this rabbit hole because they might be like, I really don't know. And that might get them to want to actually hear out what you have to offer. Okay, so that's my tip on the cold calling. When it comes down to cold DMs, which keep in mind, guys, I'm gonna walk you guys through that. I'm gonna give you guys about one tip for each item, because if I wanted to give you guys all my tips for all of these, then it'll be like a 10-hour video. So we're gonna talk about each one of these things more specifically in different videos, but for the time being, I'm gonna give you guys like a general idea. So for cold DMs, what you wanna do is you wanna focus on doing a follow-up script that is basically just FOMO based, okay? So, hey, my name is Christian. I noticed that you're in this space. This is my other client in your space that's doing XYZ results. Let me know if you'd like to see what I'm doing for them. I get hundreds of cold DMs on a weekly basis of people just saying like, oh, I filmed you a Loom. Let me know if you want to see it, XYZ. And then they send me one message and then never follow up. Like that's completely not what you want to do. You want to make sure that every single one of the cold DMs you do have a high value of potential return. So for example, what I usually do is I tell my team, hey, follow their account, like 2-3 posts, comment on 2 of them, send them a DM. If they don't respond, send them a video, like basically like a selfie video talking about what it is that we offer. And then after that, start sending them case studies, free ebook, items, like just like in general things that are valuable to that business. That one of my clients, actually, funny story, they've been with us about 3 years now. And that client specifically, we closed through cold DMs. And it took us about 3 months and 18 messages to get them to even respond. And when they responded initially, they said, sorry if I'm not answering. I thought you were a bot the whole time. So like when you are doing cold DMs, keep in mind, people have the emotion that you're a bot, okay? And that's the thing is like, if you are doing the follow-up, if you are providing value, if you stay engaging with their account. So like if they made a new post, you turn on post notification, you go like and comment, and you're the first one to show engagement, they're significantly more likely going to answer you, okay? Now, that's my tip on the cold DMs. It's actually one of my favorite ways to do cold outbound. I prefer it over cold calling because you can do much more volume, because on the phone, you're obviously sitting down and having a full conversation with someone that might not even book a call with you. And you need to go into it with a very clear objective in mind. I am going to give you value for your time in exchange for you sitting down with me. That is exactly the mind frame that you need to go in with. Now, the second most common way that people get clients in the marketing and digital space is paid advertising. This one is by far my favorite. I've closed the most amount of clients in my entire company off of paid ads, and we provide paid ads as a service, so it kind of makes sense. But typically what you want to do when it comes to the paid ads is you want to be very, very specific and very niche in what you're talking about. If you are doing anything correlated to a general campaign, when it comes to a B2B service, you're dead. Like it's not gonna work. You need to be significantly intentional. You need to have a lot of effort put into content creation and creating new angles, new creatives, new hooks, different reasons for people to talk to you. And that is how you get the ads to work. Now, I've seen the most success with Facebook and Instagram ads. However, the biggest client in the history of our client, we've generated through our Google ads. Now, I found that Facebook and Instagram are much more consistent than Google. And so they both have like pros and cons. However, I would say if you are just starting off with this, you have a budget of $3,000 to $5,000 a month, let's say, I would recommend you go down the Facebook and Instagram route and make sure that you are very intentional in who you want to work with, because you can get a bunch of leads if you do lead forms. You can get a bunch of appointments if you just do a book a call campaign, but you're going to have problems with show rates. You're going to have problems with people actually converting because you're not very specific on who you're talking to. If you're extremely specific on who you're talking to, then you're going to get good leads. What you want to do is you want to outline who they are, the problem they're facing, what it is that you offer, how it solves their problem, how fast it solves their problem, how likely it is to solve their problem. So you need to cover all those bases in order for paid ads to work. So that is my ultimate tip for paid ads. Again, it's by far the best way to generate those clients. The next thing you can do is create some sort of authority funnel. So having a YouTube channel talking about the topic that you discuss. Now, I have not generated any clients off of my YouTube just yet, not, but overall, I have generated clients off of my marketing agency's YouTube channel. So when it comes down to my agency's YouTube channel, we were doing podcasts with our clients, podcasts with people that we wanted to be clients. And whether or not someone was a viewer or an actual character in the videos, it's a very great way to generate business. So we've closed a couple clients over the lifetime of our podcast where they would come in, we'd have a podcast, we would discuss their business, their marketing, things like that. And then during the podcast, they tend to realize, oh, these guys know what they're talking about. Maybe I can give it a shot and see what it's like to work with them. So that is an example of what a authority-based funnel looks like. So my biggest tip for this is make a podcast and invite people that you want to be your clients on the podcast. A lot of people want to be on podcasts. Just make sure that it's actually a legit quality podcast, because if it's a terrible podcast, then no one's gonna want to come up, okay? The next one hasn't yielded the best return for me. I've done a lot of it, and the only times that it's worked is when it's really, really expensive, unfortunately. So it's networking events. Whenever you go to a networking event, if it's a free networking event, it's good for branding and being a face in your local community or whatever. And you might get some clients out of it, but they're gonna be very low paying clients. What I've seen is that when I'm going to masterminds that are like $30,000 for a weekend, $12,000 for a weekend, whatever it may be, this is where you actually meet people that are action takers. So when it comes down to it, obviously I don't go specifically for that reason, and which is even more impressive, by the way, at the rate of how many clients I've converted from these events, because I go there not with the purpose of closing clients like I do with paid ads. Like, I'm not running paid ads for fun. I'm running paid ads to generate business. With these, I'm going to learn, network, learn from others, improve my skill sets, but then I also get clients along the way because I am someone that makes it worth it for them to be friends with me, makes it worth it for them to work with me, which is where these things get a little bit complicated, okay? So not only is it a high risk because you have to pay a lot of money to go to the legitimate networking events, but also at the networking event, you can't be there just like taking notes all day and flexing how good your business is. You want to provide value to them by helping them in their business, and that's how people approach you to become your client. Now, I actually do that like naturally. I'm obsessed with businesses and love building businesses. So I really do help these people out of the kindness of my heart. And then a lot of times it yields with them either sending me referrals or giving me their business specifically, okay? The fifth way to acquire customers is through partnership deals. This is when you find a person or a software that is able to put you in front of their customer base, okay? I have done this extremely successfully and built a lead company that I then sold using this strategy as the only method of acquiring customers, okay? So what we did is we went to someone that already has a large client base. He had around 300 to 400 customers that he was working with. We ended up going in there, said, hey, this is how we can provide value to these individuals, and this is what we would normally charge. This is what you would make from every one of your customers that would work with us. And we actually scaled that company to about $500,000 a month in the first 90 days. It was awesome. The plaque on top actually is the one that came from that company. So this method works really, really well. Another way you could do it is you find someone that has a software that has a bunch of clients that correlate with the service you provide, and you create a partnership deal. The key thing when it comes to partnership deals is that it has to make sense for all three parties: the customer, the person you're partnering with, and then finally you. You're gonna take the smallest piece of the pie when it comes to this actually, but it's gonna make a lot more sense. So not only are you gonna provide their clients with a special rate for your services or whatever it may be, you also wanna give that person a cut out of everything you make so that everybody wins. And this is actually one of the best ways to grow a business. But make sure that you partner with the right people, because the wrong person could crumble this entire organization. Because unlike paid ads where you control that ecosystem, this ecosystem is a little bit more fluid. And let's say they could go partner with someone that is different than you, that does something very similar to what you do, and basically take all that business away from you. So make sure you partner with people that you trust. Make sure you partner with people that you want to grow with and you want to build a business with, because technically they're going to become your business partners. The sixth method of acquiring customers is through event-based programs. So something like a webinar is an event-based program. So like you throw an event where people can join either in person or virtually, and you can provide a ton of value, and then you make your pitch at the end. But webinars have worked great for us, where we've told people, hey, listen, like we'll teach you how to run ads for 3 days, super cheap, whatever, like $100, whatever it may be. They come in, they spend 3 days with us, and at the end of the 3 days, they're like, I understand this, but I see how much more Christian and his team understand it. Let me hire them. So that is another way to acquire customers. My biggest tip for this is give it all for free. I know you guys have heard this before on the internet, and it is so true, because at the end of the day, you want to give them what they paid for. You told them, I'll teach you how to do X. Don't withhold information just so that they work with you. You want to make sure to give them everything they ask for, because the reason for hiring you is not to do the thing, it's just how much better you are at doing the thing than them, okay? And that's one of my favorite ways to acquire customers. I wish I put more effort and time into it as compared to the other methods, but it is a phenomenal way to generate clients. Number 7 is communities and groups. A lot of people have seen success with this. I personally haven't, but I thought I'd share anyways because it is a major way to acquire customers, is joining things like Facebook groups, Discord chats, whatever it may be, and then providing value up front in exchange for just becoming part of the group. And then the deeper you are within the group, the more likely someone is to come ask you for advice. If they ask you for advice, you can then obviously sell them your services. So again, I'm not gonna dive too deep into this one because it hasn't worked really well for me, but also, to be fair, I haven't given it enough time either. So I haven't spent hours and hours inside Facebook groups and Discord channels providing value in exchange for referrals and deals. But it's simply not a method that I personally like to use. I prefer much more to put my money into paid ads and spend my time, instead of answering people in a Facebook group, to film content, okay? So that's just a small example, but these are the 7 ways of acquiring customers for your marketing agency or any B2B online business. This does work for B2C as well to a certain extent. Some of them do, some of them don't. Obviously, it's based on what it is that you sell. But if you enjoyed this type of video and you want to learn more about each one of these in depth, I probably have a video out, or if I don't, just make sure to leave in the comments and I'll film one for you guys. So hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys on the next video.